What's good, people? That's the Don here with another installment of the Hustle Podcast where we inspire and empower people to hustle. And in this podcast, I want to inspire and empower y'all to turn liabilities into assets. And what I mean by that is, as an entrepreneur, somebody who started businesses, somebody who invests like myself, I've learned how to take liabilities into assets. And to basically break down this concept further of what I mean and how that can inspire and empower you to hustle is it can, for me, that's what's helped me improve my hustle is, especially when it comes to investing and business opportunities, is turning liabilities into assets. So what do I mean by that? So a lot of people, first let's break down the financial statement to understand what an asset or a liability is. So if you understand what a financial statement is, there's an income statement, a balance sheet, and a statement of cash flows. And I like the way Robert Kiyosaki puts it. He says, in order to identify an asset, you got to look at it through the income statement and the balance sheet. And if the asset in the asset column is taking money away from you in the expense column in the income statement, then it's a liability. But if it's adding income into the income statement, then it's an asset. And so a lot of people, what they do is they buy liabilities thinking they're assets because they go to the balance sheet. And for some reason, somebody told them that they could list it into their balance sheet and add it to their assets, like a car, like a house that they live in, like whatever, buying whatever kind of thing people think that oh, I'm buying this and I'm going to hold it and store it, thinking that it's some sort of an asset without looking at it through the eyes of the income statement and balance sheet. And the reason why I brought this up in the first place is because I was listening to Burner's song called Equity. It's on his Paul Cicero album. And he talks about him and Cosmo, that's the Cosmo and Burner. They talk about this year, he says in the intro, last year we wanted the bag. This year we came for the equity. And it's so interesting because it's like, that is how it seems like rich people think equity, buying, owning things, you know? And sure, when you're starting out like I am, you probably want to get a lot of income and earn high income and turn that income into assets. Or some people are just focused on earning high income. They want to, they see the current of whatever they're trying to buy or whatever thing that they think is being sold, and they draw their buckets to the current. You know what I mean? And instead of floating in the current and trying to ride the waves and get in and out, they're just on the side of the current picking their water, their buckets, or having a system to take out the water from the current into whatever thing they're trying to put into, right? So, and that's why people like go into becoming a realtor, or go, if somebody wants to learn real estate, they become a realtor or a mortgage broker. They earn commissions. Somebody wants to go into the investment industry, they go into like the bank and selling mutual funds or whatever, or they go work at some MLM and get commissions for putting people on life insurance, or they see the current of the products that people are buying, especially high net worth individuals or people with assets, and then they find a way to make money off that. When you're starting off, that makes sense, that makes sense. And there's been times when I've practiced that and it's worked. Selling something or getting riding the current, not riding the current, but getting the bucket and taking the money from the current and putting it into whatever thing I'm trying to do. Even in music, for example, when I was around a bunch of artists and I saw that they were all performing and they wanted to get their music out there, I started hip hop certified. I was like, hey, let me get alongside this current, let me create a live show business, a promotions business, an interview business, and I can while all these people are trying to get promo and stuff, I can get in on that and I can help provide people with this promotion and get people a platform. And we were able to generate income that way. When I was doing reviews for albums back in with hip hop heads, I saw people were listening to music. People wanted to listen to music, but people needed, because that back in those days you used to buy CDs. I know I sound fucking old, but it's true. People used to buy CDs or they buy it off of Apple or whatever. Sure, we had Spotify, but it wasn't that big. Streaming wasn't as massive as it was now. And so there was still a need for people to get opinions from people to see whether it was worth listening to an album or buying something. And so I was like, okay, if people want to buy this music, I can get in that current and tell people what to buy or what not to buy or what to support and what not to support. And I was able to build a following that way. When I was smoking cannabis, I was like, okay, people are smoking this shit. I can see people smoking this shit. I can turn something that, again, turning a liability into an asset, like I started off the podcast. I can turn this thing and I can provide people with this thing instead of just sitting around and waiting and trying to, whatever kind of thing with doing drugs, get high and waste my life away. And so that is a way to generate income and see business opportunities. So that's a great way to start, and that's a great way to turn liabilities into assets. You know what I mean? But it also goes for investing as well. You know what I mean? And that's what I've learned. Like, not only do liabilities or people buying things or spending can become an asset through a business opportunity, but it can also become an asset through an investment opportunity. But before I get into that, let me just retrace. So if you look at the income statement and the balance sheet, the income statement and the balance sheet are going to show you whether an asset is an asset or a liability. So people buy cars, they buy clothes, sometimes people buy jewelry, depends. But people buy all kinds of shit. I got jewelry too, but people buy this sort of stuff thinking it's an asset. They're like, oh, it holds its value, it's valuable, blah, 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 blah. But they don't see that, for example, for a car, it's got car maintenance, it's got car insurance, it's got repairs, gas, all kinds of shit to go with keeping a car, and most people aren't making money with their cars, so it's actually a liability. But people think it's an asset because they're like, oh, this thing is worth something, I can sell it down the line worth something else. So they think it's an asset, but it's really not. It's taking money away from them, Same thing with jewelry, like people buy jewelry at a whatever multiple or premium on top of the spot price of whatever they're buying, silver or gold. And they think, oh, it's got value and it's got the spot price, but it's like, yeah, but are you going to sell it above that spot price? Are you going to sell it above the premium that you bought it for? Are you going to sell it above the price that you bought it for? Because a lot of the times people take that and they don't sell it for more than what they bought it for. And especially with cars, people buy cars and they sell it for less than what they bought it for. So that means it took money out of it was taking money out of your expense column, and it also took money out of your asset column. So that's how you know that it's a liability. You know what I mean? And so a lot of people buy stuff like that thinking they're assets. They're really not. But the key is, as an entrepreneur, is to learn, or an investor, is to learn how to take these liabilities and turn them into assets. And that's what this podcast I wanted to be about. So let me explain to you what that means and how I've done that and how that works. So, for example, I told you back in the days, and there's multiple ways to look at it. Like I said, one way is to looking at it like generating income, looking at people spending, using the current. That's one way to look at it. If we look at it through turning an asset to a liability, what I mean by that is, and that's how you can identify spending habits and where people are buying things and how you can make money off that, is, for example, when I started Hip Hop Heads when I was 16 years old, I loved music. I loved hip hop. And a lot of my business opportunities come from me consuming or trying a product and being like, damn, this is a really good thing. I want to kind of make something like this or get ahead or get in that current, get along that current and start taking some of this water. And so when I was young, I would just buy CDs and vinyl, and I would listen to all kinds of hip hop. It would take all my time. I would listen to it on MP3 and YouTube and whatever. And really, at that point, it's just a liability. It's taking money away from me or time. It's not really anything that's filling me up other than like the emotional gratitude that I'm getting or whatever kind of thing I'm getting from it. And so hip hop was just a liability at that point. But how was I able to turn it into an asset? I said, hey, well, maybe if I can start creating content around this kind of stuff, then I can turn this liability and turn it into an asset. So I can start building a following and maybe potentially sell products to the following, build a following and sell ads on the videos or whatever else thing that we could have done. When I was 18 and I was smoking cannabis because I was really depressed, I'm just smoking it. I'm just relieving myself. I'm trying to get away from my depression. And at that point, it's just a liability. It's taking money away from my pocket. It's coming out of my expense column. It's not really doing anything for me. And so what did I do? I saw people were buying it around me and I was like, yo, like I can turn this liability and turn it into an asset. I can start selling this stuff and start making money off it. Same thing again. When it came to music and time for me to actually put out music, I'm like, I love listening to music. Maybe there's a way for me to actually put out music, and putting out music opened up performance opportunities and generating royalties, selling merch, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's lots of ways that you can turn liabilities into assets. You know what I mean? I'll give you another example. So I remember when I bought my car, and this was when I bought my Honda Civic in 2020. I want to say in 2020. I knew that at the time I was still doing Skip the Dishes. I was doing it with my Acura TL. And I was like, man, like this car is really taking a lot of expenses out of me. It's very expensive to upkeep, doing Skip the Dishes with this thing. It's a nice car. It was a beautiful car, but it was costing me a lot. And I remember doing my taxes one year and being like, damn, like this fucking thing is so expensive. And so I was like, I wonder if there's a way for me to turn the Skip the Dishes thing from a liability to an asset, or driving around in general, if I can turn driving into an asset instead of a liability. And turning my car into an asset instead of a liability. So what did I do? I bought a cheap car that was cheap on gas, a Honda Civic with a bunch of dents in it. And I said, man, I'm going to turn this liability, which is a car, and I'm going to turn it into an asset by delivering food. And so then that's what I've been able to do through courier apps like Skip the Dishes, Uber, DoorDash, etc. And so a lot of my life, since I was 16 years old, has been spent turning liabilities into assets. Those are my business opportunities where I can generate income. And I can go into all kinds of different things. You could see the music business. You love clothing. You'll buy clothing, something I've done. I love wearing clothes and fly shit. Well, guess what? I'm going to sell this shit. I'm going to design something, and you know what I mean? So it's like turning a passion into profit, turning liabilities into assets, and turning spending into business opportunities and income generation opportunities. So that's the main lesson of today that I want to, not even a lesson, just what I want to kind of inspire, empower y'all to think about, to maybe improve your hustle, is to be like, damn, like what are liabilities around me that I'm spending money on that I can turn into an asset? And this is the final part that I'm getting to, which is me now as an investor, investing in assets like gold, silver, stocks, Bitcoin, real estate, etc. I see things that I'm spending money on consistently, and I say, I wonder who's making this product or service. And then I wonder, and this goes back to the piggybacking off the point of owning yourself. You know what I mean? It's like, I wonder let's say I'm buying gas every day because I'm doing Skip the Dishes. I wonder who is providing that gas. Who is transporting that gas? Who's drilling that gas, oil and gas? You know what I mean? Who's refining it? Same thing with like food. If I'm buying food every day, like eating out every day, let's say I'm eating Burger King or McDonald's every day. Who's buying this food? You know what I mean? I'm buying this food. I wonder if this company is public. I wonder if I can make some money investing in this company. And so that's one way that I've learned now as an investor to take liabilities into assets. I see my spending patterns and I say, where am I spending money, the most money on? And then I look and see, is this company publicly traded? And if it is, it's an investment opportunity. Obviously, I look at the fundamentals, the price, all that sort of stuff, but it can be an investment opportunity. And so these are just different ways to turn assets into liabilities into assets. And the same thing, like you can turn whatever's happening in your job. You see people are spending money on things or whatever it is, and you get an insight into where the spending patterns are and see if that's an investment opportunity for you. So, or a business opportunity, both. So that's just different ways to look at things, turning liabilities into assets. That's what entrepreneurs do. That's what investors do. And that's what I want to impart to y'all today. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you drink Coke every day, it's probably a good chance that investing in Coke is going to make you some money. If you eat McDonald's every day, it's probably a good chance that people around you are eating McDonald's. A good chance that people that you investing in McDonald's is going to make you some money as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's things like that. So that's what I want to talk about. And if you're an entrepreneur and you like starting businesses and going at a fast speed, if you're smoking weed every day, it's a good chance that you selling this stuff legally, should do it legally. There's a good chance that you selling that stuff legally somehow is going to be a good business opportunity for you. Or you working in some place that's selling it could be a way for you to generate some income. So, you know what I mean? All kinds of things like that. So that's what it is. That's what I want to impart on y'all today. Turn liabilities into assets. Think, look for the opportunities. They're everywhere. And be smart, circle of competence, like Warren Buffett talks about, and look for those opportunities, turn liabilities into assets. I heard Rick Ross say that as well. Shout out to Rick Ross. He said that in his book, or in an interview. I think he said it with assets over liabilities. Shout out to assets over liabilities. So that's what it is. Inspire power yada. Turn liabilities into assets. Turning assets over liabilities, turning liabilities into assets. So that inspire and empower y'all to turn liabilities into assets. Peace.